have to adjust this camera. That should work. Let's wait a little more. Okay, today I want to show you exactly what I do to extract fibers from yucca leaves. These fine fibers here that can be used to make cordage, rope. When you have cordage, you can make things like nets. This can be used for traps, for fishing, all kinds of different things. You can also make textiles like this. This is actually 120 feet of cordage. So I'm going to get started right away. This is my very first time going live on YouTube. I'm just trying it out. And this hopefully will be a good tutorial for y'all. And I'm sorry I'm not able to respond to the questions right now, but I'm gonna get started with what I am doing. So yucca leaves. There's many different species of yucca, particularly in the Southwest United States, Mexico, and I don't know where else, but this particular leaf is called banana yucca. It is very similar to Mojave yucca. You can use other types of yucca leaves as well. And so basically what I will do is the banana yucca has these oh, I don't know what you would call it, but just little like hairs, thick hairs on the edges, and I peel those off. And then it has a very, very sharp point right here. It's very sharp. It could easily pierce through your skin. So you want to be very careful when you harvest yucca. And also, after you've harvested, you want to be careful that you don't cut yourself with it. So I just found this little stone I just picked up off the ground here, and I'm going to use it to cut this leaf. Of course, this would be a lot easier with a knife, but a stone worked just fine. Okay, so now I have a fresh green yucca leaf. Another thing I want to mention is you want to get nice looking leaves that don't have damage to them. Like, can you see the brown on here? There's like some brown spots right there. Anyways, the fibers at that point they'll break. They won't work. So you want to look for a piece that is completely green, ideally, or has very little of those brown dry spots like that. You want to avoid those. But this one has a little bit. Okay, next, what I like to do is I like to use a piece of wood as the base, ideally flat, but out here, there wasn't much to choose from. So I found the biggest piece of dead creosote bush that I could find, and I scraped away all the bark on a rock. And so I have a pretty smooth surface, and it's a little rounded. Flat is ideal, but a little round is okay. And so I have that, and I want to secure it in the ground. You could do it on top of rocks, or I'm doing it right here in the sand. Okay, and so I don't want it to move around. And then I went looking around for stones. Now in this area, there's a lot of granite, there's a lot of rough stone. I don't know what kind of rock this is, but it has a fairly smooth side here. And that's what I want, a smooth side. You could also use another hard piece of wood, but you want a smooth stone, because if it's not smooth, it's going to tear and break the fibers that you're making. And that's not good. So I have a fairly smooth stone, and to make it even smoother, I just ground it. I was grinding it on a rock, and that helped to smooth it out even a little bit more. All right, so I have my wood base, and I have a flat stone, and I just start at one end. You can start at either end of the yucca and just place the leaf on the wood, and you just start pounding it. Now this is a kind of a slow process. Physically, it can be kind of exhausting. But you just do this, and you'll see it start breaking apart. What I want to do is loosen all of the pulp that's holding this together and expose just the pure fibers of the yucca leaf. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing that. This actually is a good tricep workout. After you do this for 15 minutes, your arms start to get pretty sore. And then another thing you could do is kind of scrape it. You pull, you hold the rock on and just kind of pull it out. And then that will help to loosen it, pull off some of that pulp. All right, now again, this is banana yucca that I'm using. It's very similar to Mojave yucca. Both Mojave yucca and banana yucca produce very strong fibers. Espero yucca or chaparral yucca, which is common in California, has finer fibers. I think it might be as strong when you measure the diameter of the cordage, but it's a little, the thing about the chaparral yucca, which I like, is that it's more smooth. It's kind of silky actually, and which would make it ideal for like textiles. For rope, for just heavy duty, I really like the Mojave yucca and the banana yucca. Now another thing yucca is good for is soap. You can take these leaves, you can also use the root. I believe the root has a higher concentration of saponins, but even the leaves work very, very good as soap. All right, the only downside to doing this on the ground, especially on sand like this, is that as you're pounding it slowly, the stick starts to slowly sink into the sand. Okay, you can see now, look at this. See how those are separating there? I'm creating a lot of nice, long fibers. What I'm gonna do real quick, I wanna grab a rock and put a rock under here. If I put a stone under here, it'll go a little faster. There aren't any at hand, so we're just gonna continue. I'm almost done with this leaf. All right. Oh, some other materials that are really good that you can do and process the exact same way as I'm doing this yucca leaf is you can use agave. Agave is also excellent. I've used desert agave, which has short leaves but very strong fibers, and I've also used a type of agave, it's a quite large plant with very long leaves, about 1 meter long. And I've also used sisal or anakin in Mexico. The anakin produces, it grows in Yucatan, Mexico. And it's a very silky material. I really love it. It's beautiful. You can make very nice cordage with it, which can be used obviously for so many other things. And so all the agave, they could be processed the same way. The thing you have to be concerned about with a lot of agave is that the sap is very irritating to the skin. So if you get the sap of the leaves on your skin, it's going to cause an annoying itch. And but fortunately, that goes away after you wash. All you do is wash it off with water, and it goes away in about 10 minutes. So it's not a big deal. It's not like getting poison oak or something like that that's going to be causing you actual irritation constantly for 2 weeks. Alrighty, so I'm gonna flip it around on this side to do the other end. And we are just about done with pounding this leaf. You can see there's a lot of work that goes into this. That's the thing with all this primitive and ancestral skills. It wasn't an easy life. It was easy in certain aspects. Didn't have the same kind of stress and pressures that we have in today's modern age, but people had to work. You had to be on at all times, and you had to respond to emergencies and problems right away. You know, so if you wanted to advance and create some comfort in your life, you really had to work hard. It's kind of the same way in modern life. You have to work hard in order to create those things for yourself in most cases. But in today's culture, you have all of these programs and services and businesses and all these things that help to support you. And back then, there was a lot less of that. So be thankful for what you have, and definitely, you know, don't take it for granted. We have a lot. So, okay, what I am doing now, I pounded this entire leaf, and what I'm doing is separating like small bundles of fibers. Just pulling it apart like this. Okay, and so when I complete doing that, when I finish, I'm gonna be about halfway finished with this, the processing of this leaf, not fully finished. It also depends on your intended use of this material, because you could take this as it is right now, just half processed. We still have pulp that is attached to the fibers. That's why they're green, because the pure fibers are actually white. So we have all this pulp still on them, but you can use this and you can twist it and you can make a rope. The only problem is with the fibers, as the fibers dry and they slowly break down in the natural elements, it weakens the fibers, so it's not the best way to go. The best way is to get pure fibers that aren't going to break down easily. So just to give you just a quick example, like I could take a bundle like this and I could start twisting it and I could make a rope. And I've done this before. One time I needed a belt. I needed something to hold my pants up. I was out in the desert. There's lots of yucca, Mojave yucca growing all over the place, and so I cut several leaves and I made, very quickly made a rope that was long enough to wrap around my waist and tie my pants up. So this is an example of some rope. Okay, I quickly made that, and so you can use this for all kinds of things in an emergency use. Of course, like I said, this is not the ideal way, but this is strong. Like you're not gonna, no matter how hard I pull, I'm not gonna be able to break this. There's no way. So this is good stuff, and it is useful for any emergency situation. But like I said, because it has the pulp on it, it's not the ideal. It's not the maximum quality or durability. So to get the pure fibers, there are a couple other steps to do. All right, so this is the fibers from one leaf, not completely finished. I had done another leaf earlier, so this is for 2 leaves. So what you got to do next, in order to get fibers that are really fine like this, see the difference in color? Okay. To do that, you got to remove the rest of the pulp that's remaining on these fibers that I just pounded and separated. So in order to do that, one way to do it immediately is to simply scrape these little bundle fibers with your fingernail. I wouldn't use a stone because it will break them. It's going to cause the fibers to break. So you can use your fingernail. The only problem is you got to keep them moist. When it gets dry, it gets brittle. kind of weird. It only happens when the fibers are on. I'm sorry, it happens when the pulp is on. And if these fibers with pulp are dry and I try to scrape it, I'm very likely to break the individual fibers. So I want to avoid that. So what I do is I moisten it with my mouth. My understanding is this is non-toxic. It is high in saponins, which gives it a very bitter flavor. But I have read about very good medicinal properties related to saponins. So it may be a good idea to have some yucca leaves in your mouth from time to time. You can read about that. You can read about saponins online. Okay, so you can see that this is a very, very slow process. Okay, and but this is when if you need to get some fine cordage immediately, if you need fine yucca fibers very soon, then this is the way to do it. Another way, well, let me show you this. This is what I just did. See how fine that is? Okay, now I can twist this and make a very fine cordage that'll be fairly strong. I can make this cordage that could be used, it could be used as a fishing line, and it could be used for tying things together. The fastest method I know to twist cordage is to roll it on your thigh. It works very, very good on buckskin, not so good on, cotton and other materials that I've tried. And it also works good on your bare skin, but you have to be careful because the hairs will get rolled right in along with this cordage. You'll be pulling the hairs right off your skin. See this cordage I just made? Look at that. Very fine, beautiful, strong. That's yucca cordage, made from yucca fibers that I just acquired from the leaf. Okay, so that's an example of how quick and easy you can acquire the fibers from yucca leaves. There is another way to get the fibers, which it takes time, it takes a few weeks, but it's a passive method. And what I do is once you have the pulp stripped off like this, or greatly reduced, I know there's a little pulp left, but you take these bundles like this and you just put them in water and you just let it soak in a bowl of water for about 2 weeks, and it's gonna ferment, and this pulp is going to break down and basically just kind of disintegrate, and it leaves you with nearly pure fibers. And so when you pull it out after 2-3 weeks, this is very soft, and you can pull off the pulp, the remaining pulp, with your fingers very easy. At that point also, it works if you use, if you scrape it with a piece of wood, or if you have a brush. I've even used cactus needles, like a cactus leaf that had a lot of cactus thorns on it, and that works pretty well to brush it off. That's the fastest way to do it. Doing it with your fingernail is very slow and tedious. It takes a very long time to create much cordage, or create many fibers for making cordage. So another thing you can do, which I've been experimenting a little bit with lately, you can, when you soak it in a pot of water, you can also add urine, and that will speed up the process that it breaks down. It'll break it down faster even. You can add some tannins, something that produces tannins like oak. I've used holly leaf cherry seeds, and that gives it a different color. It'll actually tint the yucca fibers. Instead of them being white, I've produced a slight brown or slight like pink reddish color, which is very interesting. I got to experiment more with that because it produces a very beautiful looking fiber. So that's what we have. I started with this, and then I was able to make usable cordage from this leaf. So that is my tutorial about yucca fibers. Right now, kind of feel like having some cactus fruit. It's the end of this cactus fruit season. The prickly pears are all gone, almost all gone. There's only a few left. A couple weeks ago was the peak of the season. It was so great. I'm gonna show you guys one more thing you can do with this. Let me just eat this prickly pear first though. The weather's getting a little milder now, and so it's nice to be outside in the sun, in the sun. It's not too hot. Nights are still warm. Look how good. This is so beautiful. So delicious. Oh. I haven't told you yet, but I started making fruit leather. I've been drying these, and it is incredibly delicious. It is like candy. Wow. I'm making a video about it. Not ready yet. Gosh, that's so good. Okay. But I want to show you one more thing that you could do with this. Remember I mentioned soap? So my hand's a little dirty, right? Not dirty, let's make them dirty. Okay, now it's a little kind of dirty. You just add water to this and it suds up and you got soap. Look at that. See how it suds up? See the soap on my hands? And let me get some more. Let me add a little more water. There we go. Look at that. Look at that soap. It's incredible. This is so good. And you can literally just wash your whole body with this and be nice and clean. And I kid you not, it's been approximately 3 years that the only thing I've been washing my hair with is this yucca leaf. Yucca leaves. What I do is I get a pot, a big bowl of water, put these leaves in like they are like this. I heat the pot up, get it nice and hot. And then to wash my hair, I just take my hair, dump it into the pot, and I work it and work it. And I use this like a brush and I scrape it and I scrape it and I rinse it all out. And it is so good. It's so beautiful. I can't believe how good it works, how clean it leaves my hair, silky soft. I kid you not, this is the best. It's so great. Costs nothing, no harmful chemicals. On the other hand, it has lots of natural, fresh, who knows what good stuff is in it. But that's what I've been using for 3 years. Only 3 or 4 times that I used commercial shampoo. And I know a couple of those times I didn't like it. This stuff's great. So, yucca, yucca, yucca. So many uses. Certain ones produce food too that you can eat. And then other plants that also, like the agave I mentioned, it produces food. So the agave and the yucca are such useful plants. All right, so I'm gonna read the comments and I will reply. Once again, just a recap. I acquired these yucca leaves. I used a stone and a piece of wood to smash the pulp, remove the pulp from the leaves, and then from that I was able to acquire these very thin fibers, make cordage out of that. And then I brought along with me some examples of things that I can make with cordage, such as this. It's like a textile. You know, I use this as like a mat, like a table mat that you would put like over a table. You can make nets. This net, I'm not finished with this yet, but it's going to be designed to capture grasshoppers. It's going to be basically a net with a handle. It's going to have a ring holding it for grasshopper hunting. And then of course we cannot forget the rope, strong rope. I've made rope that I was able to swing on. 100% made out of yucca fibers, just like this. Okay, it's good stuff. It's a very good skill to learn. I think cordage is often an overlooked survival skill, but just look at all the things you can do with it. Rope is so essential. There's so much you can do, and it's something that you always want to have on hand because you never know when you're going to need it. All right, so it's not enough just to know how to make yucca cordage or collect the fibers. It's you got to be ready. Preparedness is really, really important, and it's key because when it comes time in an emergency situation, if you don't have your rope, you might not have enough time to go find some yucca leaves, pound them, and make your own rope. Okay, literally to make this much rope, okay, doing it the way I just showed you, it would take hours and hours. This would take probably a whole day. Seriously, close to a whole day. But you could do it faster by just pounding the leaves, and instead of scraping all the pulp off the fibers, when you just get them from this to this stage and then make your rope, then you could make 10 feet of rope in probably an hour, maybe. Literally, you probably could do it in about an hour, 2 at the most. Okay, 2 hours. In 2 hours, you can make 10 feet of rope. All right, just a little bit more information. When I have fibers, a lot of clean fibers like these, what I do is I like to collect a big bundle of them, and then I can freely make cordage whenever I want. And when I'm going at full speed, I can do up to 20 feet of cordage an hour. All right, so that's when it's all going good. I got plenty of fibers ready, and I'm just rolling it. I can do about 20 feet of cordage an hour. Okay, so it takes a lot of cordage to make things like this. And when you start weaving, it's a very slow process. This took many, many hours to make. These are little tasks I work on whenever I can. Okay, so this, I don't remember how much cordage is on here. It has definitely well over 100 feet, I can guarantee that. So you could do the math. It's probably, just to make the cordage, you know, you got to pound the leaves and stuff. It's about 10 hours of cordage right here. And then to weave it, I don't know. This may be close to 20 hours of work to make this. 20 hours. Appreciate all the things you have in your life, because you didn't have to work as hard as it takes to make these things, okay? Imagine if you didn't have the society you have right now, how much time and effort it would go into making such simple things. So be thankful for that. Don't take it for granted. And it's a good thing to realize, to work hard. We need to work hard. Let's go for it. All right, so there's so many things I want to make. I want to make a hammock. I've got enough cordage for it now. I literally have over 1,000 feet of cordage made. Okay, I plan on using about 800 or more feet for the hammock. I'm making clothes, nets. I want to make a big fishing net. There's so many projects that I'm working on right now. So it's going to be really cool to see these things in action. But again, remember the time that goes into making each one of these items. It's really astounding, and it really gives me some appreciation when, you know, when traveling. The times I traveled in Mexico, for example, and then people are selling their handicrafts. I would never again like try to haggle them for a better price, you know, because they're often only making a few bucks and they've put in days work, you know, so appreciation. Alrighty, I'm gonna end this. It's been a pleasure and I hope you enjoyed this live. I could do some more. I'm recording with my camera just in case. You know, I'm gonna go, I can't really see the screen well because it's so bright out here. Let me come up here. Got some shade. Let's see if I can look at some comments here. What percentage of your time do you spend living primitive? You know, that's a hard one to answer. As much as possible. I don't know. It varies. It varies. It's not, I don't have a set schedule. I got you know, family things that come up. There's financial things that come up. You know, your vehicle could break down. It takes a vehicle to move around here. I'm sorry. We're not in the 1800s. I don't have a horse and stuff. So it's like even when I'm in the city, I have all these materials and I'm always making things. You know, so I'm always doing that. Are not you hot? It's not very hot today. I could get a horse. Well, you know what? There's a lot of places you can't really have a horse. You can only go so far. How long does the rope last? Oh, that's a very good question. How long does the rope last? You know what? It lasts a long time. That big piece that I was just showing you, that's down there. That one I made it a few years ago. And it was, for a while, it was hanging from, I had some bones hanging. You probably saw in one of my videos some bones hanging from a tree at my hut a few months ago. And so it was out there. I used it for making my piñata, which I smashed with a stick. And so it's still good. It lasts a long time. And there's no special, you know, I haven't treated it with anything either. Do you know any good plant fibers? And God, you know, other plant, I haven't used a lot of different plant fibers. I've used New Zealand Flax. New Zealand Flax was native to New Zealand, but it produces very fine, silky fibers that are very similar to Anakin. I like that. I haven't used many others. I mean, I've used inner bark from some plants or trees. I love the yucca, though. It is just superb for so many things. Nettles, you know, I've never used nettles. Yeah, everyone talks about nettles. Let's see here. Oh my gosh, these questions are coming too fast. To train at the gym or home with weight. You know what? Okay, training. I have some weights. I do push-ups. Usually I do push-ups and pull-ups a lot, and I run. A lot of times when I'm working out, like at the hut, when I'm working at the hut, I want to go do have proper workouts, but it's just, I'm usually start my day. I usually work like 12, 13, 14 hours a day when I'm doing that, when I'm making videos. It's so intensive. And I'm carrying stuff. So, I mean, I get exercise in a workout by doing that, but I want to start going to a gym. I did try a gym recently, and it was good using these different machines because I have some injuries that have been very problematic for me, and it seemed to help that a lot, and I've increased my running, and so I want to get to where I can run a marathon again and stuff like that. Oh, these questions are coming by so quick. I'm going to have to come back to these later. Can you use the net for fish? The net can definitely be used for fish. Absolutely. The one that I just showed you is too small, really. It's an experiment and idea. A lot of stuff I'm doing, I experiment. So that's another thing why it takes a long time to make some videos, because I'm doing something for the first time, and there's a lot of learning process. You gotta ask, okay, one more question. I guess, how do you keep your hair looking so good? Did you see what I just showed you with the Yucca soap? That's what I do. That's it. And people have asked if I brush it or whatever. No, I don't brush it. I'll detangle it, and you can detangle it with the fingers, and it needs some detangling now because I haven't done it for a few days. But I just use Yucca soap. That's it. No conditioner, nothing else. That's it. Sometimes I put some other plants in it, like creosote. See these bushes growing out there? That's all creosote. Creosote bush is a very great medicinal plant. Prickly pear fruit tastes like, oh my God, it's heavenly. Especially when you're in the desert, especially if it's hot and you're thirsty. There's nothing like prickly pear. It is great. Internet connection. Well, I'm using the data of my phone. And so that's why I can't do this at the hut, because there's no cell phone reception or there. So I just came and checked this place here, and fortunately there is cell phone reception. So leave a like for Zuber. Please do leave a like. I appreciate that. I'm probably going to be doing these lives more often. I don't know why I didn't do it before, but hopefully this works. There's a couple benefits. One is that the video goes on immediately. There's no editing. Editing my regular videos takes an enormous amount of time, and it's very frustrating because I want to be making things, and instead I'm tapping the computer, a keyboard, for hours and hours and hours, and looking at a screen, and it just takes away from what I'm trying to really accomplish. So I don't have a Patreon yet, but I'm going to start it. I'm just trying to figure out how to what to offer, things like that. In the comments, tell me, give me some suggestions. What do you think would you like to see in a Patreon? Okay, so I have like my regular videos that I'm doing, and then what would be different for a Patreon that would give you the desire to sign up, pay a few bucks a month? What would be good for that? So this is going really fast here. What foods do you eat usually? Oh gosh, eggs. A lot of wild foods, acorns. I absolutely love acorns, and the problem with acorns is it takes a long time to prepare them, to process them. That's the problem with wild foods. It takes a lot of time. In ancient times, people spent all day preparing food, every day. If you have a job and you work 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day, and you get your money, and that provides your living expenses, yeah, that's what everyone's job was. It was preparing food. It was taking care of the shelter. It was acquiring water, medicine to treat injured and sick. Instead of monetary exchange, it was just outright doing these things. So literally, to produce 2,000 calories worth of acorns, for eating for one day, would take hours, maybe all day. And of course that depends on the tools you have present, or tools that you've developed. So that's why there's always this incentive to create better tools to increase your production. And hence that we have the world we have today that has super high production to be able to feed 7 billion plus people on the planet. So pretty amazing. All right, guys, I got to go. And we will do this again, all right, very soon. Again, this is my first live, so I don't even know how to stop it. Where is it? Oh, here it is.